making Scotch eggs today with a twist. Now the little twist is going to be, first of all, we're going to make the outside coating Indian spiced. And secondly, rather than using sausage meat, we're actually going to use mince meat. I'm going to use lamb mince, but you could do this with pork mince, beef mince. Just, you know, get it in the pot, mix it all up, and you'll have beautiful, spicy Scotch eggs. Now to make these Scotch eggs, I just want to quickly run you through the ingredients we're going to use. First thing I've got is some mince meat. I'm going to be using lamb mince, but you could use pork mince or beef mince. They all taste really good with this recipe. Now with the lamb mince, I've got 500 grams, that's half a kilo, roughly about a pound of mince. Now with the mince, you want to try and get it as fine as possible. This one's not particularly fine, because when it's really fine, it just helps it all to sort of bind together a little bit easier. So use fine mince if you can. Now traditionally, Scotch eggs are made up with like the sausage meat, but you know, today I'm going to do it with mince meat because a lot of you sort of commented that you couldn't get sausages to make up the Scotch eggs, so today I thought I would do it with mince meat. Then we've got the spices that we're going to add in with the lamb mince. Now I'm going to use a teaspoon measurement, 1 small teaspoon for each of these. You've got hot chilli powder, ground coriander, ground cumin and some salt, so 1 teaspoon of each of those. Then we've got some cornflour, 4 teaspoons of cornflour. Then I've got 4 garlic cloves, so peel those, try and crush them down really fine. Got a good sized piece of ginger, peel that. Probably the best way is to grate it, so good sized piece of ginger. And then I've got 1 egg, which I'm just going to separate so you've got the yellow bit, the yolk. When we sort of put it all together with the meat and the cornflour and everything, all those spices and everything gets rubbed in, and I think the cornflour and egg kind of helps to bind it all together. Then I've got some eggs. I've actually got 7 there, only because they all fit in the pan. It's probably about right. Maybe there's 1 or 2 spare, I don't know. So with the eggs, just boil them so they're hard boiled, and then, you know, we take the shells off, give them a quick wash and dry them off, and they're ready to go. Then I've got another 2 eggs in a bowl there. Now I've got those in a bowl because we're going to beat those up, and when we've got the egg covered with this sort of mincemeat, then we roll it into the egg, and then it goes into these breadcrumbs that I've got in the back here. Now with the breadcrumbs, you can buy those, but to be honest with you, it's a really good way of using up oldish bread. You know, you just sort of give it a quick bzzz, and it's all done. Oil, I'm just going to use some vegetable oil, but you can use, you know, any oil you've got. So now I've gone through the ingredients, I'm going to get myself a bowl and we're going to put the mincemeat in there, add the spices and all the cornstarch and crush the garlics and grate the ginger and just get everything ready so we can get on with the cooking. So I've got it all prepared, I've got the ginger and the garlic all crushed, it's all ready to go. So I've got myself a bowl, and what I'm going to do is put the mincemeat in first, and then we're going to add all those lovely spices and just get it all mixed up. So first of all, just get into it. Just get that mince out. Don't need to wash it or anything, just straight in there really. Now with the mince, what I'm actually going to do is just grab hold of it and gently try and separate it, so when we put all these spices in there, we kind of get it evenly coated, and it's a good way to start. So let's just grab this and just gently sort of pull it apart really. Loosen it up a little bit. That'll do. Then we've got those spices, so we'll just sort of, you know, sprinkle that around really. Give it a quick mix. Just helps to get it nice and evenly coated everywhere. That'll do. Then I've got the ginger and the garlic. It's all nicely crushed up, really nice and fine. So again, just mix that in a little bit. And we'll give it a good mix in a minute anyway, so that'll do. Then we're going to add the cornflour. I think it's just with the egg sort of helps to kind of bind it a little bit. So. Now the final thing is going to be the egg. Now we just want to get the yellow bit out, so you can crack it like that. It's quite an old-fashioned way of doing it, but it works well. And then you just keep swapping it from one side to the other, and then all the white comes out. There you go. I'll just pop that in. So we've got all the ingredients. Just break that egg a little bit. And what we're going to do is just mix it all up. Now I'm going to do that with my hands Now just to help to stop the meat from really sticking to your hand so much, just put a little bit of oil on there, and then we can grab it and just try and get everything mixed up nicely. So I'll just carry on doing this until I feel it's all been mixed in. So I've got it all mixed up, didn't take very long, but just try and make sure it's as even as possible really. So it looks like sort of sausage meat really, you can see it's all bound together quite nicely and everything's mixed up, smelling good. So now I've got the mincemeat all mixed up with those spices, all ready to go. I'm just going to pop it into a fridge while we boil the eggs. So I'm just going to put a little bit of cellophane over there and just pop that in the fridge for a short while really, while we get on with the eggs. So now I've got the mincemeat in the fridge, just let it chill for a while. Now I've got my eggs, I've got the 7 eggs in a pan of cold water. So what I'm going to do is bring those up to a simmer. Once they've come up to a simmer, then I'm going to cook them for another 7 minutes. So I've just had the eggs simmering away there, so I'm going to turn them off now. They've been cooking for 7 minutes. I'm going to take them over to the sink, and then what I'm going to do is rinse them under cold running water until we've cooled them down. So I've got my eggs and I've shelled those, I rinsed them and then dried them. So the eggs are all ready to go. We've got the meat over there. I've got a little bit of flour in a bowl here because when I'm going to make up these Scotch eggs, I'm going to dip the egg into a little bit of flour and then put the meat around that. Because I think the flour just helps to kind of bind the actual meat to the egg. So I've got a plate here and I'm just going to start making up some of these Scotch eggs, and then we'll put some oil in the pan, heat it up and get on with the cooking. So I'm just going to make up the Scotch eggs. So first of all, just get the eggs there, dip them into flour, do that with all of them. So I've dusted off the eggs in flour, so leave them there for a moment. Now what I'm going to do is grab a little bit of this meat, this mince, and what you can do is just use a little bit of flour on your hand actually, or oil, but I find at this stage flour's a bit easier. I need a little bit more to go around. So you've got to kind of, you know, make sure you've got enough to go around the egg, but obviously, you know, we've got to try and make up as many Scotch eggs as we can. So just squash this flat, almost like making a burger to start with. And when you've flattened it out a little bit, let's just grab an egg and we're going to try and just push that round very gently and seal up any little gaps, and then you can roll it around like that. And again, if it's getting a bit sticky, just put a little bit of flour on your hand. And that's now gone round the egg itself. So that's one done. So I'm just going to carry on doing that with as many as I can. So I've done my Scotch eggs. Now when you make them up, just make sure you give them a good roll, and if there's anywhere it looks like there's a little split, try and seal it up and roll it round. Now I actually got 5 in the end because I think I'm using large eggs. If you use sort of small or medium eggs, you'll probably get 6 or maybe 7. So I've got the 5 all ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of oil, quite a lot of oil actually, in the pan, heat that up so it's sort of about a medium heat. Then I'm going to dip the actual Scotch eggs into the egg, into the breadcrumbs, and then put them straight in the pan, cook them away, get a beautiful colour, and they'll be delicious. So I'm going to start off with the oil. You can use any oil you like. I'm going to use vegetable oil. So just pop that in. You want a fair bit of oil in the pan. That's it. Because you want to, you know, obviously build up a colour all the way round. So you're going to need to roll these a little bit in the oil very gently. So let's switch the heat on. I'm going to put it on about a medium heat. So while the pan is warming up, the oil's warming up, just going to grab my Scotch egg and I'm just going to roll it around, plenty of egg, straight into the breadcrumbs, and just roll them around really. So get plenty on there. That's it. Let's do another one. Again, see that little, just make sure it's sealed up. Don't want them falling apart or anything. That's it. Put them in the egg. And do the same again until we've done the 5 Scotch eggs. Right, so I've got the 5 done. I put that little flicker in there just to sort of test it to make sure the oil was hot. So I'm just going to put those in one at a time. Hopefully I'll get them all in the one pan, but we'll see how we go. I'll move that one a little bit. I mean, obviously if you were making a big batch of these, you'd have to do them in, you know, a bigger pan, or maybe sort of do two batches. I must say, heat wise, I'm just on about a medium heat, and what we're going to do in a minute is just kind of roll them a little bit, because you want to build up a little bit of colour all the way around the edge. I reckon in total we're going to be cooking for about 10 minutes. We just got to make sure that obviously the meat is nicely cooked on the outside. Just before I turn them over, I'm just going to spoon on some of that hot oil. Now I'm just going to turn them over just a little bit each time, just to try and get a nice even colouring all the way around, really. Look at that, starting to look good. And again, just keep moving them around, really, just to initially build up a little bit of colour. So as a rough guide, I've been cooking on a medium heat for about 5 minutes, just to try and build up the colour all the way round. Now what I'm probably going to do is give it another 5 or so minutes, and, you know, just make sure that everything's nicely cooked, but don't let the outside burn, because you don't want them looking all burnt, because they're not so nice. Build up a lovely sort of colour on the outside like this. Keep building it up. If it looks like it's starting to burn, just turn the heat down. So I'm doing it on a medium heat, and just try and make sure everything is nicely cooked on the outside, all the meat. I'll just turn the heat down a little bit, just trying to make sure there's a good colour everywhere. And then really these are ready to put on a bit of paper tissue, and then we can serve them up. So I'm just going to pick those up, put them on a paper tissue just to make sure they're nice and dry when you serve them up. Oh, smelling lovely with that lamb. Smelling good. Nice and crispy and coating on the outside. Look at that. That looks beautiful. Oh, let's put it on the table and try one. So I've got my Scotch eggs there. Look at that. They look really nice. Now I'm just going to transfer them onto a plate, and then what we're going to do is cut them open. Try some of them. Listen to that crunchiness on the outside. Oh, it's going to be good. Right, let's cut one of those open and see what it's like. Let's just go through. Obviously still hot at the moment. Look at that. Beautiful. Oh, that looks nice. Going to try that. I'll open up another one. Again, this one at the front here maybe. Open it up. Look at that. That looks delicious. All the meat's nicely cooked. That's yummy. I'm going to try a bit of that. Alright, which bit should I try? I think maybe this one looks absolutely yummy. Let me just bring that a little bit closer. You can see. It's going to be good. Oh, hot but lovely. Get all the spices coming through. You've got the flavours of the lamb. Really nice. If you want a little bit of twist on your sort of Scotch eggs, go for these ones. They're delicious.